morning. Hello. Buenos dias. Good morning here in Washington State. And I do like to say Washington State because a lot of times people think we in D.C.
I know.
Most people, we don't know that there is two Washingtons, right?
Yes, it happens all the
this
time.
Washington is the most beautiful Washington.
I agree.
Actually, right? Yes. So we here in Washington State, Tacoma, here in the center of Tacoma, at VT Radio Universal, and our show, Siembra, and welcome to everyone that is listening through the media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok that they want to get rid of TikTok, but we know why. And we also have X that I don't do a lot of X and stuff. But my name is Yazmin Ford, host of the show Siembra, and we have a special guest sitting right here next to us. But like you guys, it's the people that follow me and listen to my show, I like to talk a little bit about what's going on nationwide and internationally. Why? So I was just talking to Sheree about what's going on politically, and we're not going to get into that a lot, but one of the things I was talking about her is how we engage in all these wars that sometimes we didn't even have business doing in these wars. And I have every time I come and I have my show, I bring this here to support because we are part of the human race.
Yes.
And we don't think it's happening over there, it can happen here.
Yes.
It can happen here. It also happened to us. It happened to our ancestors. They took land from the indigenous. They brought people from other continent. They used them as slave. And this was not happening streams. Now we watching it happen, and how our government is engaging and indirectly or directly they partaking and making us complicit too with our tax money sent to Israel. So I know probably my little voice is not a lot, but I come here and I also like to wear this because for my Palestinian sisters and brothers that are suffering, that is not a war, it's a genocide, is uneven when you look at what's going on. It's just so uneven that when people say there's a war, I said, that's not a war. I mean, I come with a stick and you come with weapons of mass destruction. That's not level war, So I like 37,000 people dead, or probably even more. And our government is still sending money and still giving money. On one side of their mouth, they say something, and on the other side of their mouth, they do something else. So I'm not happy about that. Also, we have a lot of elections. I don't know if you know, Sheree, it's more than 50 countries in the world that are having elections this year. We're going to see a shift globally when it comes to power. Right now, we had Germany that had an election, Mexico that had an election last week, and they had the first woman president in 200 years. So we've seen a lot of Panama had I'm Panamanian. Panama had a election in May too. So we're gonna see a lot of change globally. It's gonna be interesting to see how power and it's gonna shift globally. Father's Day. I was forgetting about Father's Day. That a lot of fathers said they don't get the accolades.
They don't get enough recognition. It's today, isn't it?
Yes.
Happy Father's Day.
So happy Father's Day to all my brothers, Latinos. Feliz Día de los Padres a todos los papacitos allá afuera. For the teachers that are become fathers, for the brothers that become fathers, for the uncles that become fathers, for the grandparents that become fathers. Thank you, and happy Father's Day to everyone out there. So we're gonna start our show. We're starting a little late. We have Sheree's Cook with S.
Cooks with an S.
Cooks. She's gonna tell us a little bit about herself. She is involved with the Urban League here in Tacoma. And we are so pleased to have you this morning here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Tell us a little bit about Sheree. How were you originally here from Tacoma?
Not originally. So, first, with my last name, an interesting story. It's originally Cook. I don't think there's any Cooks anywhere. So when my dad was in the Army, he added the S because he said Sergeant Cook did not sound right. So he added the S.
That's good. That's kind of good.
Was that funny? So I don't think there's many cooks out there, and I wonder how they got the S if they did. So of course, as a Black American, I have a colonizer name, and it is Cook. It's an English name. So anyway, my father was in the Army, and I was born in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And then we lived in Oklahoma for a little while, and then I lived in Germany for a little while, but I was very young. And then my father was stationed here in Fort Knox. He was stationed here at Fort Lewis. And I was 4 or 5. So most of my years I was living here, and lived back in Mississippi for a couple years in my preteen years with my family, with my grandmother, and came back here. And so I had a little life experience in the South, which definitely molded who I am today, because it's a whole different culture living in the Southern United States. So most of my life I've lived here, and in the Tacoma area. Very Tacoma-centric, I like to say. I'm a T-Town girl for sure.
And you know why I like to ask people, because normally as you look at the United States map, nobody looks at the map and say, I'm going to move to Washington State.
Right.
Because I have people that tell me, like, I had people said, there's any Black people in Washington, in Tacoma?
We're out here.
How do you get there and all that stuff, and there's brain stimulation and all these things. And normally we end up here, like you, I end up here by military, and I love it here. Came back here. I think it's a good state to raise kids. I think it's not that bad. And, you get here and then you say, hey, it's not too bad. So you are military, they call it military brat.
I was spoiled, but I wouldn't say I was a brat.
That's what they call it in military, right?
They do.
So you got here by the military, by your parents. And so now tell me a little bit about what do you do in the Urban League? And how did it is that you got involved in the Urban League?
I am the director of family engagement for the Urban League, and I've been there for going on 2 years. Family engagement is very new to the Urban League in Tacoma. I don't know how many Urban Leagues in the United States have a family engagement specific program, but for Tacoma it's very new. And how I got involved was right before the pandemic, and these days we like to say before the pandemic and after the pandemic, right?
And prior,
right? Definitely. Yes. I was brought into a project that was called the Black Parent Alliance, and this was a project that was started by a few very prominent, I like to say very prominent Black community members that do awesome things in our community. And we like to say it was kind of a non-PTA type of feeling. We said, how can we get Black parents together to look at specific needs for our Black children, and also parents of that are parenting Black children. So not necessarily Black people, but have Black children in their families. So to have to see what they wanted to talk about, what did they want to learn more about, to get us together to do those things. So we had an initial meeting. We did some brainstorming. What are your concerns? What do you want to know more about to help support our students and our young people to increase their livelihood, their academic success, their mental health, all these things to make them better people, right? So we started that project, then the pandemic happened. And so we did pivot to online, and we were able to do a few things online. We had some mental health professionals come and talk to families. We did like some game nights on through Zoom. We did some other things, like we had people from the school district come and talk to families about different things. And then, it kind of just like waned off a little bit, but the idea was still strong. How do we keep this strong? We want to still be able to support families and specifically Black families. And so I was in a transition time for work for myself. And the current CEO at the time, Senator Tawana Nobles, was the CEO yes. At the Urban League, and very familiar with Tawana Nobles, and she was part of the Black Parent Alliance because it was kind of housed in the Urban League. And I had reached out to her, said, I'm in a transition time. If you hear about something, hit me up. I'm looking for work. And she did. She called me, and she said, we want to do something here at the Urban League. We want to make something happen to support families, and we want to see how we can make it like more substantial. And also Miss Amanda Scott Thomas, who is the director of the Community Partnership Office of the Tacoma Public Schools, was going to support this position for a little while with a little I guess a little grant money for a little while, for about a year.
Okay.
So I was like, absolutely, this is right up my alley, because my background is in youth development. I was a preschool teacher for a few years. I've worked with families for a few years. I've worked in community. So all of my experience just fit very well to go into this position. So I went, and we, figured out what this position could look like, and just hit the ground running.
And listening to you, I have one son. He is 26, and I remember now I look at myself and said, I look a helicopter mom. I was always engaged and involved in his school. They had teachers that they knew me and stuff. But I look at the system, and I said the system, how it's set up, that a lot of times you don't see the parents involved because they have to work. And I noticed something too, that teachers treat kids differently when the parents are engaged, absolutely. And when parents are not engaged. And a lot of times we go into this hamster wheel where they're making it harder and harder for people to be engaged. Is you have to work, and it's getting harder. You get home, you have fixed a meal for your kids, and then you end up going to bed, and you're really not knowing what is going on and how you can be part of the decision making of what happened in school with your kids. And this is more or less, it sounds something like that you guys came up with, to see how you can have parents get engaged in when it comes to education and school. Yeah.
So one thing I like to, first let me say that teachers and people that work in schools, and mostly white teachers and white administration, they come into classrooms and school spaces, and they have implicit and explicit biases because of the nature of our society, right? You know, we live in a culture of racism and white privilege that they are born into, and that we see every single day. So they carry that wherever they go, and we have to work to changing that. So I'm going to set that aside for now, and I'm going to go back to your thing about families engaging. I've always liked to tell parents that we understand that everyone can't show up. We have working class families. We have families that, single parents, right? We have families with just medical conditions. I can't, physically even show up because of, just the nature of my medical condition, all these things. So things that I always told parents is there's other ways of being engaged. And I don't think a lot of families thought about that, And so, for example, when your student is getting ready to start school, you can make the effort of writing up, this is my student. These are the important things to know about my student. They have this many siblings. These are the things that helps them stay engaged. These are the things that they like. These are the things that trigger them, because teachers are going in blind. And like I said, a lot of them are going in with a lot of biases. If they are able to understand your student more from the beginning,
Yes.
it helps them.
Yes.
Teachers need support too.
Yes.
And then also, as parents, we do need to take a little accountability. Yes, we have a lot of things on our plate, but these are our children.
Yes.
And so, we have to find ways to make it work, even if it's an hour a week. Talk to your kids.
Yeah.
How is school going? Send an email to the teacher. We shouldn't always expect to just that every 3 months to talk to the teacher. Like, well, why didn't I know this?
Yeah.
Why didn't you reach out to find out?
Yeah.
I even have to remind myself of these things. And I have a 16-year-old, I have a 19-year-old, and a 23-year-old now. And I noticed when I started to be more involved with my students and the school, my kids did better.
Yes.
And it's proven.
Yes.
There's data behind that, that our children do better academically and socially and even emotionally when you are involved in some kind of way. And that does not necessarily mean physically showing up in the classroom or in the school. And when I was able to show up, I always said that as a parent who can show up, I was showing up for all the kids. I wasn't just showing up for just my kid. But yeah, there are ways to be involved and engage without having to just be there. But we have to take some of that on too. But it doesn't have to be a heavy lift. But you have to do something. These are our kids.
And I had one son, and I had the support of my ex-husband and all those things. But I noticed the dynamic. And I worked for Tacoma District for a little bit too. I noticed how kids will view and treat it different if you was not involved. I noticed. I said, "Wow, it's
because they assume
eye-opening."
we don't care.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was eye-opening for me to see, to see that, and to see that we automatically are walking as suspects and not to be trusted.
Yeah.
Even from a young age.
Yeah. They assume we don't care about education.
Yeah.
They assume that, we don't care what happens with our kids, and that, if something, we only want to hear about the bad stuff.
Yes.
And that when we do hear about the bad stuff, we're just going to punish our children.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily true.
And I think it's a collaboration, like you said. It has to be where that I could see, but again, I had a little bit more support and help. I could see that there was a collaboration between the teachers and myself to help my son strive, that I know a lot of parents don't have that. I wanted to talk a little bit about Urban League, a little bit about how it is that you guys, why it is that the Urban League started, and how it is that you guys are engaged in the community and what it is you guys do in the community. Because I know maybe a lot of times a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
They hear the Urban League and, well, what is the Urban League? So a little bit more of what you guys do and how do you connect it to the community?
Yes, I get that a lot. What is the Urban League? I'll be riding in a Lyft and they'll be taking me to work and they'll say, oh, Urban League, what is that? So the Urban League was started back in 1968, and the whole premise was empowering the Black community around social, empowering their social lives, and also around economics too. I know back in the day they had classes for job readiness. Mm-hmm. There was classes for students like to get their GED, mm-hmm. and all kinds of things, and over the years it evolved to what the community needed at the time. So right now what's our strongest programs, we have what's called small business navigation. So we have a designated person who works with people with small businesses to help build their capital, to help them write out business plans, to just strengthen their businesses. There's even money out there to help them,
Startup, like a startup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so there's someone designated to work with these people, and there's even like what they call small business drop-ins once a week where they come. They can meet other people, learn from each other, and there's people to come talk about financial literacy for small business specifically, and just around that that area, which is really awesome. We also have a mentorship program for males and schools. It's called the Male Involvement Program. We're in 4 schools, 3 middle schools and 1 elementary: Stewart Middle School, Gray Middle School, First Creek Middle School, and Lister Elementary. The focus is students of color. Everyone is welcome, but the focus is students of color. We have 2 awesome mentors that go into the schools. Male, yes. Mm-hmm. That go into the schools during the day and work with these students around just, social awareness, self-awareness, responsibility. And this is all around like activities and things like that. There's a summer program. They do a few field trips and just strengthening like brotherhood, mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. unity and things like that. Then, of course, there's my program, what I do. And so I like to say I work from birth to college and career. I run the gamut. So one thing I do is I can support families one-on-one. Say they are struggling with a certain issue in school, just like we're talking about with implicit biases with teachers, and they have a certain situation. Like, I don't know how to navigate this. I don't necessarily want to continue working with the administration because I'm just not feeling comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. I can help them, as an advocate working through that situation because I've had my own experiences mm-hmm. as a Black parent. Okay. So that's one thing. And helping them find resources. A lot of times we have our own resources because of collaborations with other organizations. So like diapers, wipes, mm-hmm. Bus cards a few times, things like that. And then I've done workshops and classes. Just recently, I went to a foster care service and did a workshop with teen girls mm-hmm. around self-love and self-care. And then on the flip side, working with families with young students about like kindergarten transitions. Just because of my experience with working with families and engaging with families and just giving them advice. And, I pull a lot from my experiences and also what I've learned through my education. And then we have a lot of organizations that we sponsor. Mm-hmm. like leaders in women's health and a few others. And so it just depends on what the community needs at the time. We just recently had our State of Black Tacoma, where we had a few professionals come and talk around education, around health, and that's specific to the Black community and what's happening with the Black community. And so we do things like that. So it just depends on what's happening right now in our society and what's needed right now.
And when it comes to health, one of the things that I was thinking as Black women, there is a disparity when it comes to, I just feel, in my personal experience, that I have not sometimes feel like I've been listened to, like they treat you sometimes like I know better than you know better.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes, and I'm an interpreter, medical interpreter. Sometimes I have to tell women too. I said, you know your body, and you know this is wrong or not. How do you feeling? Because sometimes they just give you prescriptions, or they just would brush you off, and they like, we know better. There's nothing wrong with you. Yeah. So those are things that you guys probably help advocate and teach people to know how to advocate for themselves, because you have to. Sometimes you have to push.
Yeah, we like to pivot. Like I said, whatever is needed or happening in the community, we like to pivot and work with that. My colleague and myself, we just were talking the other day and said we need to bring back our Girls with Purpose program that was happening a while back. That was very strong, and we said we want to start that back up. So we're looking to do that too.
Yeah. So I was thinking, and before we started the show, we was talking a little bit about, you went to DC, you and Christian went to DC to this conference. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, right now, and I'm Panamanian, so I try to keep up with what's going on in Panama. I'm not able to go back home this year. I want to go, but I still have family and stuff, my mom and stuff. And right now there is a indigenous island in Panama right now. 300 families they have to move them out of the entire island, because the island is receding and receding. There's more and more water. So they were showing on the internet how they taking all these families and moving them somewhere else. These are people that they speak their native language, that they also have their own culture, and they maintain the same rituals and ways of life, and now they have to be moved to another areas that they're probably gonna have to start over. Yeah. And I was thinking, not how it is that I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was telling him, I said, we as capitalism is not that better than socialism or communism that we like to demonize it. Is all about money. And if you think about the indigenous people that were here first, they understood that that they was just administrators of nature, and that they was one with nature, and they learned how to take care of the environment and nature. They didn't take for lucrative. They didn't take just to make money. They didn't do that, because they understood. They were one.
Yes.
They were one with nature. They and we looking at the rich and powerful. I have this friend. He's rich, and he's like, you don't like rich people. He said, you're always talking about rich people. I said, because you're greedy. You just greedy.
How much do you need?
Yes. And
Yeah.
so what is the connection? I was thinking that you and Christian, a Latino man, and you a Afro-American woman that lives, you guys, in the areas that you live, urban and Latino areas, how is that connection of the environment and the ocean has to do with the community? And what it is, you guys, you went to this conference that was the potential of oceans.
Yeah.
And what it is that you got from that when it comes to connection and relationship with the community that you serve and you live in.
You asked me like 4 questions.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna try to try to answer everything.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. So first off, I am just a lover of nature. I like to call myself a ocean and water baby as a Cancer sign. I'm connected to the ocean and the water. It's calming. It's beautiful.
I'm a Scorpion too, so I love it.
I connect to mythology, especially like African mythology, and the goddess Yemaya, who's the goddess
Yemaya.
Yemaya.
Yes.
Who is the goddess
This
of water?
The water, yes.
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 I have a statue of her.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's near and dear to my heart, first off, right? And so that goes back, I think, to my African roots, first off, just as a person. Okay. And when I had children, I wanted to pass that to them. So we would go to the ocean. You know, we live on the Puget Sound, right? That is connected to the ocean. So we are fortunate enough as Washingtonians that live on the Puget Sound to be able just to drive 15 minutes and be able to see the water. And it's beautiful, you know. And so I would take my children to the water all the time and let them connect and be out in nature. And I would have them cleaning up. You know, we would take bags and we would clean up all the time since they were little. I told them we need to protect the water. We need to protect nature. So just as a family, it started there, you know. And as a community member living on the east side of Tacoma, we have the beautiful green space called Swan Creek. And Swan Creek has the creek that runs through it, that the salmon come back, right, from the ocean to, you know, where they were born, right? And I just love that green space and always would visit it, once again, with my children. And this is a park that, you know, was, of course, originally and still is indigenous land. You know, we need to recognize that. And I wanted to ensure that people understood the importance of having a beautiful green space in an area that is mostly black and brown and peoples of color. And so I had started a few years ago, I had started nature walks in the park in Swan Creek. And my goal was to get more people of color and the community that lived there out into that green space, just to see it and appreciate it more. And once again, we would clean up. And of course, there's more things that goes into protecting our nature and our water, our fresh water and our oceans. But, you know, one simple thing you can do is to clean up these spaces. And when the pandemic came, I did a video with a friend of mine who did the videography. I wrote a narrative and I did a voiceover, and I talked about Swan Creek. And I had got a small grant to do the nature walks. And then to finish my deliverables, I pivoted to do the video. And I'm still very proud of that video. And someone from Metro Parks, she remembered I did the video, and she connected me with Yazmin Williams, who we went to Capitol Hill Ocean Week with. Because she said, you know, you're a community member that obviously is very passionate about nature and, you know, that connects to the ocean and things like that. And I was like, of course. So, long story, and I think I kind of answered some things in there.
Yes, you did. Don't worry about answering. Just tell us the story.
That's how, you know, my connection and love for nature, the ocean, what I was doing for community, the importance. We live in an area with a beautiful green space that needs to continue to be protected. And we need to utilize, you know, a lot of people come from other parts of town, which is totally fine, but we live in a place that has a beautiful green space with fresh water that our salmon come back to, and we need to protect the ocean so our salmon can continue to come back to their birthplace, right? We have that in our backyard.
Yeah, we don't have to go. I always said I don't have to go that far to just enjoy nature. Washington State is just a beautiful state. Now, what it is you learn? What it is you learn from the conference? What it is you got? Because sometimes you go to conference, and did you feel like a sense of urgency for what is going on with the environment? What's going on with the environment?
Oh gosh, yeah. Climate change is real, people. It is real, you know. I think a lot more people are understanding that. Like, okay, yeah, it's real, but it's still on the back burner, right? But climate change is real. It is definitely affecting our ocean, but, you know, we get a lot of food from our oceans too, you know, and it's affecting our food supply as well. But one thing that was a huge takeaway for me was the representation. There was a lot more Black and brown people in very high leadership positions for ocean conservation and environmental justice.
That was shocking to you?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That is good
this
to
is
hear.
A predominantly white space.
Yes.
It was very powerful to see that, you know, and it gave me hope. And because just like, you know, the connection with, you know, education and people not thinking that we care about those things, and the stereotypes and the biases on that, you know, Black and brown people, we care about everything else that other people care about, you know, and we are in leadership positions, so it's good to see us, that representation, and for our children to see us, to see the possibilities, you know, that they can have moving forward. So that was one of the huge things that I took away, that they were in leadership positions, running huge organizations, in high up government positions. You know, I didn't know those things. You know, I'm a community member, and my, you know, in Tacoma, Washington, you know, that how many people heard of Tacoma, and doing little nature walks in a video, doing my small little part, but then to go to Washington, D.C., and to see these people, lovely people, doing these wonderful things, encourage me.
In a bigger scale.
Encourage me to come back and get excited for the work that myself and Chris and Yazmin are going to dive into. So that was one of the biggest things. But also to learn about all these different organizations that are being involved in different aspects of environmental justice and ocean conservation. There are so many different parts that go into ocean conservation. It's not just one thing, there's many aspects of it.
And I'm a little bit of story because I'm a water person thing, and I think by nature we as African ancestors, I think we are, even though they they make us think that we don't like water. I love water.
I can swim too.
Yeah, because it's like you can't swim as you black, right? Right. Yeah. So I'm just the water for me is there's a whole entire universe under the water
that we have not seen.
Yes, there's forestation, there's different animals, there's different bugs. I look at the water just like the ocean, just like I would look at the universe.
Yes.
Everything that we see in the surface is down there and even more than we know. So we have to take care of our environment because, again, I think we are one with it. If we don't think, as we destroy, something goes away, eventually it's going to affect us. But I have my little story. I went to the ocean and I was picking up, I wanted to do like a shelf with the hard shelf, and put it in a bottle and put it outside of my house and the door. And I started picking up shelves. I had my little bag of shelf, went home and started doing a little research about it. They said, no, you can't be doing that. They said, no, because they said you disrupt the environment. Those shelves that you think they empty, there is creatures that need those shelves. You don't take. I was petrified. Like, oh my God! I thought I was doing something. So I took them back and spread them back in the ocean, right on Chambers. I just took all of them, and and I said, even that we don't know, just taking those shelves. And when I looked, they said, no, you don't want to do that. Actually, they said in Hawaii, you get fined.
I believe it.
Yeah, you get fined if you take the shells and stuff. So we don't think it's that important, but it is. The other thing I wanted to ask you, so there is this one thing you will want to do now that you have there's almost, I feel like there's maybe a little bit more a different view of when you think about the environment because you went to this conference, the potential of and how are we connected to it is now that you came back. What is the one thing that you think you will want to do now that you know a little bit about how the ocean is connected and affect us as a community?
Yeah. I definitely want to be able to educate our children more. A few years ago, the Tacoma Urban League did do an environmental justice camp with young women, and I want to do that again. I want to continue that work, bring that back. And so, and be able to show the young people that there are opportunities in this field as well, and that they will be needed in this work to continue to conserve our oceans. So that's one thing for sure. Chris and I will be a part of this project with Point Defiant Zoo and Aquarium moving forward, and how can we tie in this project and with our young people? How can they support this project? Is there a possibility there? They live in this community too, and they are the next step. We always like to say the children are the future. They are. Yes. They will be the ones coming up. They will be the ones more affected by what's happening with climate change than we are currently. So that's the biggest thing for me right now, because I work with youth and families, and I definitely want them to be a part of this journey.
So I'm thinking about government. How does that we can get because you guys got invited to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are a community, you can say leaderships. There. How it is that the younger people, not only the younger people, can get engaged and maybe get engaged in a way where they can become leaders in those areas too, and have support of the government too, supporting what, there's people that have a lot of ideas sometimes, but they don't know how get to get in action.
Yeah. So I would say we were earlier talking about like the importance of like local government. I am on the Tacoma Creates Advisory Board. I don't know if you're familiar with Tacoma Creates.
No.
Tacoma Creates is an initiative that supports organization with monies around arts, cultural heritage, or science programming. And so as for with the city of Tacoma, we take a small percentage of our tax money, and this was passed a few years ago. It was approved by our citizens, and we take a small percentage of tax money, and it goes to programming for organizations that are providing this kind of programming. So for more grassroots organizations, but also like our arts sector downtown as well, get money from us. But we have like youth positions for our board, and we also have other advisory boards and commissions in our city. For instance, the Tacoma Sustainability Commission that looks at things to sustain our community and our nature and other things. And I'm not sure if they have a youth position right now, but that's something to advocate for, to put our young people in place to be able to use their voice there. And so that's an idea to start locally. They can even, if there's something that they're very passionate about, you can always go and talk to your city council and say, this is something that's very important to us, and, we want to be heard. Helping young people figure out how to do that and putting them in front of our city council. Like we said, starting local is very, very important.
And when I was listening to you, and I'm thinking that the young people are very engaged when it comes to the environment. Over globally, you see they've come together. I think it was last year when they had this girl and a bunch of kids that just went to the UN, and they went to different places and start talking about what they're doing, because they understand that it's a world that they're gonna have to a mess that they're gonna have to take care of it. Not it's the rich and powerful that making money by profiting, but they're gonna leave, they're gonna die, whether they think they're invincible or not, right? They're gonna die, and the younger people are gonna have to pick up and clean up all this mess that is going on. Environment is for me is one of the things. The more and more I thinking about it, we're connected, and thinking about the Black community. Like you said before, there's almost a notion that we really don't care, that we really not connected, that we really, when it comes to the environment, we are not, sometimes I don't have to work in the weekday, and I noticed, I was telling somebody the other day that too, I noticed that, as I would go to the park and stuff, I would see more white people in the middle of the day, in the afternoon. that you don't see black and brown people because we have to work. And that's one of the things that I noticed too, that how it is that we can create those spaces again, that we can get together and do these things, even just like you said, the walk that you do. You still doing it?
I am not still doing it. I would like to start again. Yeah.
Let me know. I would love to do that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was talking about that a while ago. I would like to start that again. Historically, we were excluded from these spaces.
Yes.
And I wonder, this is I wonder. I wonder if it's still ingrained in us that, we're not really supposed to be in those spaces, that, say our grandparents weren't supposed to be in those spaces, so they didn't take their children. And so our parents didn't take us as much.
Yes.
And so historically, we don't go as much, So there has to be a shift somewhere.
Yes.
Somewhere has to be a shift. So I think I was the shift. My parents took me to like the playground, but to be in the spaces, but my dad did take me like to Mount Rainier and things like that. So someone has to be the shift. And education is important.
And I'm thinking, being in this Washington State, it's not that hard. Like you said, 15 minutes from where you can go to any area and you can find a little lake, a little creek.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard. But I was thinking about that the other day, because I would go walk or stuff, and I would say, wait a minute, I'm like the only black person walking in a Wednesday or Tuesday in the park. And I see younger white people, and I said, well, why are they not working? So, and I think, so yes, I was thinking about that, those spaces where we need to see more people like us too, because like I said, I walk and I said, and now you see more and more. One of the things I wanted to ask you, as a black woman, you being a black woman, and in the environment, like I see right now, you have your natural hair. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because those are all those little different myths that comes with, with being black. Yeah, all those myths of being black. Even just now, I had my tea, and Christian asked me, what is that you have? Eucalyptus leaf. I have inside my tea, and I drink it. I have my neighbor, she has a eucalyptus tree. And what is the biggest misconception when it comes to you being engaged in the community and being a woman of color?
That other people have about me?
Yeah, like, what is the biggest, because sometimes people think that we, like you said, we not, when they say like, wow, I didn't know she likes to go walk, or she likes the water, or she gets her hair wet, or,
Well, I said it, a lot of people don't think black people can swim.
Yes.
We can swim.
Yes.
I know how to swim. Let me see. Oh, that's a hard one. Definitely the environment thing, doing the nature walks. A lot of people were surprised by that, and the video I did, got a lot of it.
Talking about, yes.
That I did was kind of out of the box. That.
And you think that's what also called, like, people like, wait a minute, she's engaged.
So I was definitely remembered by that, and I think because there was a black woman who did a video highlighting a green space and the importance of it, and getting other people involved in it. So that was a big one for sure. I was also, years back, I was the city president of the PTA in Tacoma. And one of only a few black women that was. And so I was in a space where it was
PTA is mostly
white women mostly white women who had the privilege of being able to show up, right, in those spaces. And there was a lot of stereotypes there. And so, like, going to conferences, you don't see a lot of Black women there.
And I think people think it's because we don't want to. But again, and that's why I started the question saying that because we have to work.
Yeah.
We have
Point
to.
of privilege.
Yes, we don't have my grandmother or grandparents that left me, that I can just take a day off in the middle or whatever, So that's why I said that, because I think a lot of times people think you don't want to, but it's not that you don't. You don't have a choice.
And let me say, I'm not a super privileged person. I just made it work.
Yeah.
I made it work because I understood the importance. So I was also the family engagement, like, what was it called? I want to say it was like I was the regional family engagement person for PTA. So when we would go to different conferences, I would do like a class and things. And I would start off with like, how are you engaging other people of color at your school? And they'd be like, that's what you want to talk about? Yes, I'm Black. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, that's too funny.
So things like that. They would be like, okay, of course. And a lot of times it's like, oh, here goes the Black woman talking about Black issues. That's what's important to me.
Yes. Yes.
That's what we want to talk about more.
Yes.
That's we want
that
to.
That is too funny. So I have a little game here. Where are my glasses? Because I can see without my glasses. Can you believe that? So, and then we're gonna finish. I got 5 minutes. The director told me. Favorite food?
My mom's peach cobbler, and it's almost my birthday, and so I'm excited.
She said July, right?
June 26th is my birthday, and so I'll get a peach cobbler from her. Absolute, that's my favorite.
Song, music, or song?
Currently, my favorite song is John Redcorn by Sir.
Oh, you're going back.
It's not that far back. It's only a few years.
John, he's not like older?
Sir is the artist. The song.
Oh, okay. The
song is John Redcorn.
Okay.
I love that song.
Place. What is your favorite place to go?
The favorite place?
Yeah, like
in nature or just in general?
Nature or country or state or.
Oh gosh, this is gonna. Okay, my alter ego. I love to go to Las Vegas.
Well, and it's just like 2 hours. 2 hours.
And I'm a whole another person there. So what?
You're supposed to.
What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Exactly. That's the reason you go there. Is because it stays
I like to
there.
Go to Vegas. I do.
Okay. Movie. One of your favorite movies?
The Color Purple.
Yes, Color Purple. Favorite person?
My favorite person?
Yeah, you got a favorite, like, okay, so we have a recent interview. We got Samantha Carrillo Mastache. She said, congratulations, Yazmin Ford. Amazing interview. How can we help you, our Latin community, with the program and any resources? We have Sandra Garibaldi. What a great tip to not wait 3 months, but to get engaged and reach out to the teachers. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Samantha Carrillo again. The relationship between parents and teachers are the bridge to build a holding environment for our little ones.
I love that.
Sandra Garibaldi, haha, Yazmin, for what a great story. We all are guilty of doing that and then finding that we're not supposed to.
Put the shells back.
The shell, I had to take it back. Yes. Thank you, ladies, for watching and listening. Okay, so person, like a favorite person that you love, or writer, or lady.
I love the author Toni Morrison.
I
I think I've read almost all her books.
I love Maya. I love her story. It's just amazing, her story. So what would you tell to your younger self today? What would you do different if you had to do everything different? Something different. And what would you do different if you... Yeah, and I know I throw 2 and 3 word questions.
No. That's a hard one I would have to sit on that. But you're going to do more than you think you are. You are worthy, you are special, and you are loved.
So you would tell yourself that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Yes. So to everyone that is listening, happy Father's Day to all my fathers that are watching
happy
too.
Happy Father's Day.
And thank you, Sheree, for being here.
Thank you.
You know, mi casa es tu casa. That means you. She said, "Sí."
Yes. Gracias.
So thank you, Chris. And so hopefully, if you start the walking, let me know. Because I need to do that. I'm doing it because I have a little dog that I just got, and it doesn't let me.
Your dog is welcome.
see, yes. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next week at Siembra, and thank you. Happy Father's Day. Make sure you treat your fathers a little bit better than the mom because they complain a lot. Okay.
That was great.